In the vast expanse of the galaxy, amidst 1,000 stars, humanity had once been regarded as little more than a fledgling species, weak, naive, and easily overlooked. The Galactic Council, a vast assembly of advanced alien races, had little regard for Earth and its inhabitants. To the Council, Earth was just another primitive world to be ignored, dismissed, and, when necessary, exploited. But the humans, with their quick wits, sheer determination, and brutal resilience, had other ideas. For decades, Earth had fought for a seat at the table, to be considered an equal in a galaxy full of vastly superior species. For a time, the humans were ignored, their pleas for equality dismissed as the nonsense of an insignificant world. The Council watched as Earth suffered from incursions, from manipulative alien corporations, and from forces beyond their control. Then, everything changed. The Nari Empire, once the most powerful force in the galaxy, fell under a brutal assault from an unexpected quarter humanity. The destruction of the Nari Empire had been swift, ruthless, and absolute. With the fall of one of the Council's oldest and most fearsome factions, Earth's voice was no longer to be ignored. The galaxy had never seen such devastation brought about by a single species. But it wasn't the Nari that the Galactic Council feared most. No. It was humanity. And as the dust settled and the galaxy adjusted to a new order, a truth became apparent: Earth was no longer the galaxy's underdog, it was its fiercest predator. Chapter 2: Earth's Fury Unleashed. Admiral Olivia Darnell stood on the bridge of the Hercules, staring out at the view of the galaxy spread before her. The humans had won, barely anyone disputed that fact anymore. The Nari were nothing more than a distant memory, their capital planet reduced to rubble, and their fleet decimated. The Council had no more excuses. No more games to play. Darnell's mind replayed the moments of that victory, the desperate battles, the harrowing losses, and the insane determination of her crew. But it had all been worth it. The victory over the Nari had catapulted humanity into a position of power, one that the Council could no longer ignore. "Admiral," Commander Graves' voice snapped her from her reverie. "The Xantarii and the Koth representatives are waiting to speak with you. They're requesting a meeting about the future of human relations with the Galactic Council." Darnell straightened, her face an unreadable mask. "What do they want now?" "Something about a peaceful coexistence with humanity. It seems they're worried about our growing influence." Graves paused. "They've been pushing for new terms. They want us to relinquish control of the territories we've claimed since the fall of the Nari." Darnell's lips curled into a tight smile. "They want us to surrender? After everything we've been through? After we saved their collective skins from the Nari? The nerve. Shall I tell them you'll be with them shortly?" Graves asked, a note of amusement in his voice. "Yes. But make it clear that Earth doesn't bow to anyone." "I'll take their call in a few minutes," Darnell replied coolly. As Graves left to relay the message, Darnell couldn't suppress the simmering anger bubbling within her. The Galactic Council had treated humanity like a footnote in history for far too long. Now that they were no longer just pawns in the game, they wanted humanity to cower, to fall in line with the established order. Darnell's fist clenched around the rail as she stared out into the cold vacuum of space. "They think they can dictate terms?" she muttered under her breath. "They'll learn the hard way that the human spirit is not something to be conquered." Chapter 3: The Council's Ultimatum. The communications room aboard the Hercules was dimly lit, with a large holographic display flickering to life in front of Admiral Darnell. On the screen appeared the representatives of the Xantarii and the Koth, two of the most powerful and ancient species in the galaxy. Admiral Darnell, the Xantarii ambassador, began, his voice cold and deliberate. "I trust you understand the gravity of this situation. Humanity's rise has upset the delicate balance of power in the galaxy. Your forces have taken over Nari space, and the implications of that have not been lost on us." Darnell's eyes narrowed as she leaned forward. "Oh, I understand perfectly, Ambassador. You're here because you're afraid of what humanity might do next. You fear our strength. But you should be afraid of something else. The human spirit is not for sale, and we do not seek to dominate others. But we will not let the Galactic Council or anyone else dictate terms to us. The Xantarii ambassador stiffened, his reptilian features tightening. This is not about fear, Admiral. This is about survival. The Council requires that Earth return the territories you have taken by force. There is no negotiation here. You must comply or face consequences. Consequences? Darnell repeated, her voice rising in controlled fury. You think we'll back down? You think we'll let you or anyone else push us around after everything we've endured? No, Ambassador, it is the Council that will face the consequences for underestimating humanity. You are making a grave mistake, the Koth representative said, his voice a low growl. We have already contacted the rest of the galaxy. An alliance is forming to resist your aggression. The combined forces of the remaining Council factions will be more than enough to crush your forces. Darnell smiled, a cold, dangerous smile. I think you'll find that humanity has a few surprises in store for you, my friend. Before they could respond, Darnell terminated the transmission, her hands shaking with restrained anger. She turned to Graves, who stood at attention. Ready the fleet. Prepare for war. Chapter 4, Earth's Fury Strikes. For the Galactic Council, the words had been a warning. For humanity, they were a declaration of intent. As the Hercules and its fleet moved into position, the tension in the air was palpable. Earth's fleet, now numbering in the thousands, stretched across the cosmos, a force built on the ashes of previous conflicts and fueled by humanity's insatiable thirst for survival. They had fought, bled, and died to earn their place in the galaxy, and they would not let anyone take it from them. The first strike came without warning. A coordinated series of attacks on Council supply lines, swift, surgical, and devastating. The Xantarii and Koth had expected a prolonged campaign, but humanity's tactics were unlike anything they had prepared for. There were no grand speeches, no demands for negotiations. Just action. The Hercules was at the heart of the attack, cutting through the Council's defenses like a hot knife through butter. The alien fleets scrambled to respond, but they were always one step behind. The humans had learned quickly from their first encounters, adapting their tactics and technology at an unprecedented rate. They had become an unstoppable force. Within days, the Xantarii and Koth fleets were in disarray. Their advanced ships, once thought invulnerable, now lay in ruins. Human fighters swarmed across the battlefield, engaging with tactics that had the Council's strategists in utter disbelief. The humans fought not as soldiers, but as survivors, driven by a primal need to protect their home, their people, and their future. You were warned, Darnell's voice echoed over the fleet's comms. This is your last chance to surrender. If you do not, we will show you the full extent of humanity's fury. The Council, now on the brink of collapse, scrambled to rally their forces, but they were too late. Humanity's vengeance had already begun. The war that followed would be one for the history books, a war that would reshape the galaxy forever. Chapter 5, The Fall of the Council. It took only a month for the Council to crumble beneath the weight of Earth's furious revenge. The remaining alien factions that had once stood united in their disdain for humanity were now fractured, divided, and defeated. The combined might of the Xantarii, Koth, and their allies had been shattered, leaving behind a galaxy in chaos. Admiral Darnell stood at the center of the Hercules Bridge, watching as the last remnants of the Galactic Council's fleet fell to the might of Earth's wrath. The war was over. The Council was no more. We've done it, Graves said quietly, his voice filled with awe. We've beaten them, Admiral. The Council is finished. Darnell nodded, but there was no triumph in her eyes. There was only a deep, simmering sense of justice. This isn't over. Not yet. You mean Earth's role in the galaxy? Darnell turned to Graves. Yes. The galaxy needs to understand that humanity will not be bullied again. We've earned our place here, and we will protect it. The Council's failure is a lesson to everyone who thought they could ignore Earth. Chapter 6: The Shifting Balance. The stars had quieted, but the silence was deceptive. While the Galactic Council had fallen, the galaxy's inherent complexity remained. Alien species and powers, each with their own agendas, looking for a new balance. Though humanity had succeeded in toppling the old order, the new reality was more uncertain than ever before. Admiral Olivia Darnell sat in the command chair aboard the Hercules, her face illuminated by the flickering starlight. The fleet had withdrawn from the chaotic heart of the battlefields, but they had not forgotten the cost of their victory. "Admiral, the Dvorny Collective has made a move," Commander Graves said, his voice tense. "They've begun mobilizing forces near the border of the Nari remnants. They've sent us a message." Darnell's brow furrowed. "What's the message?" Graves hesitated. "It's an offer for an alliance. But it's clear they are trying to test us. They want to see if we are as powerful as they've heard." Darnell crossed her arms, her mind working rapidly. The Dvorny were a militaristic species, known for their brutal approach to conquest. They were known as opportunists, always willing to pounce on a power vacuum, and with the fall of the Galactic Council, the galaxy was ripe with one. "The Dvorny want us to align with them?" Darnell asked, her tone careful. "Yes, but it's clear they're also testing our limits," Graves said. "They want to see how much influence we've gained since the fall of the Council. They're curious. And they're not the only ones. We've been getting similar messages from other factions, including the Koth and the Actions. The galaxy is watching, waiting." Darnell turned in her chair to face the vast, infinite expanse of space. "They want to test us, do they? Let them come. Humanity has nothing to prove, but they will learn we will not be intimidated." Chapter 7: The Baiting of Earth. As Earth's influence continued to spread across the galaxy, the leaders of alien factions watched with increasing wariness. Many had already learned the hard way that humanity was not a species to be trifled with, but some had not yet fully grasped the depths of their resolve. The Dvorny Collective wasn't the only one to stir in the wake of humanity's rise. Smaller factions, which had once thrived under the old order, now sought to either join or challenge the new power structure. But the tactics were always the same: offer alliances, form negotiations, or, in some cases, send subtle threats. It became clear that the galaxy was watching Earth for one reason alone: would humanity step forward as the new ruling force, or would it falter under the pressure? Darnell was resolute. Humanity had already conquered and reshaped this corner of the universe through sheer force of will. But to consolidate that power, to avoid another war, they would have to show the galaxy something even more powerful than military might: unity. Diplomacy. Admiral Darnell called a summit of the human leaders, the diplomats, and the military strategists. Earth had triumphed in battle, but the next phase of their rise would require finesse. The enemies they had fought were not just gone, they had been humiliated. And humiliating a species of advanced aliens, especially one with the power and knowledge of the Council, could have long-lasting consequences. On Earth's moon, in the newly established Galactic Embassy, the human leadership gathered. Darnell stood at the head of the table, facing a dozen members of the newly established Galactic Council of Earth. "We are at a crossroads," Darnell began, her voice steady and commanding. "The Dvorny are offering an alliance. The Actions are testing us. And the Nari remnants remain a ticking time bomb. They will not be passive for long. Our choices in the coming days will determine if humanity will thrive or burn." Her tone softened as she looked over the faces of the Council. Some were veterans of the campaign, others were diplomats newly appointed to steer humanity's newfound position. They understood the stakes. "We cannot afford to be reckless," Darnell continued. "We've earned this position with blood. But we must not squander it with arrogance. The Council may have fallen, but the factions that remain are not as easily broken. We have to think carefully. We need to build alliances, show strength, but also demonstrate we are more than conquerors. We are leaders." The Council members nodded, each one mulling over the gravity of her words. I'll arrange the first diplomatic mission to the Dvorni, said Rene O'Meary, Earth's chief diplomat. We need to extend a hand first. It's the only way to avoid a larger conflict. And if the Dvorni refuse? General Aidan Cross asked, his hand steepled before him. Do we go to war? Darnell's gaze hardened. If they refuse, then we will show them why humanity has earned its place among the stars. But I hope it won't come to that. Not yet. Chapter 8, The Dvorni Ultimatum. Weeks passed, and Earth's diplomatic envoy was sent to the Dvorni Collective's capital. The warships and fleets remained in orbit, poised in a display of raw power, but it was a show of restraint. Darnell kept the lines of communication open. Earth would not be the aggressor this time. The Dvorni capital, a massive citadel of spires and metallic landscapes, loomed like a fortress on the edge of their system. The delegation was greeted with the cold hospitality of a species that had never needed to negotiate for anything. The Dvorni had always taken what they wanted. Admiral Darnell's representative, Ambassador Ailey's Corps, entered the Dvorni High Chamber with the formal human delegation. The room was vast, dark, and menacing, with alien warriors standing guard along the edges of the chamber. Their leader, High Commander Thrax, greeted them with the same imposing silence. Earth, Thrax growled, his voice an unsettling rumble. We have heard your claims. You have proven your strength in war. But strength alone does not rule the stars. I offer you a choice: join the Dvorni Collective, and together we will forge a new empire. Or refuse, and suffer the consequences. Ambassador Corps stood firm, her gaze unwavering. We are not interested in conquest, Commander Thrax. Humanity seeks peace. We seek a future where all species, regardless of their power or past, can coexist. We offer you the chance to be part of that future. But we will not be your subordinate. Thrax's eyes narrowed, studying the human ambassador with an unsettling intensity. You are bold, human. But you misunderstand the nature of the galaxy. Alliances are forged through strength. We will see if your resolve is truly as formidable as your victories. With that, the negotiation turned from tense diplomacy to a show of force. Chapter 9, The Spark of Rebellion. A sudden transmission from the Hercules interrupted the tense conversation. Admiral Darnell. We've detected a fleet anomaly near the Dvorni outer colonies. Several factions are converging on the area. It's a coalition of Council remnants. And they're headed straight for Earth. Darnell's face hardened, her mind racing. It's a trap, she muttered. They're trying to test us again. Cor's eyes widened in realization. This isn't just about the Dvorni. It's the entire galaxy pushing back against humanity's rise. The Council remnants, seeing the failure of their old order, had rallied together to make one last stand. Darnell quickly called for her fleet to mobilize. Earth was no longer just defending its sovereignty, it was defending its very future. The war was not over, it was just beginning. Chapter 11, The Battle for Earth. The fleets converged at the edge of the solar system. The stars flickered coldly from the void as the massive ships of the Galactic Council remnants, led by a coalition of hostile alien forces, gathered in the shadow of Earth's orbit. Humanity's fleet was smaller in numbers, but the vessels were more advanced, more efficient, and more battle-hardened than anything the galaxy had seen. It wasn't just their ships, it was their spirit, their relentless will to survive, to protect their world from forces that would see them bow. Admiral Darnell stood on the bridge of the Hercules, looking out at the fleet arrayed before her, a flotilla of ships that made even the fiercest warlords uneasy. The human fleet had seen countless engagements, but none quite like this. This wasn't just another fight for survival. This was a battle for humanity's future. A battle to prove that their place among the stars was not earned through dominance alone, but through unity, resolve, and the will to never kneel. Damn, they've really brought everything, Commander Graves muttered as he scanned the fleet's sensor readout. A dozen ships, all heavily armed, from various factions. It's a united front against us. The remnants of the old order are serious about this. Darnell clenched her fists, her jaw set. They think they can crush humanity with sheer numbers. But we're not just another casualty in their galactic games. We've earned our place here. We'll show them the price of underestimating us. Admiral, came the voice of Fleet Communications Officer Kyra Singh, her tone urgent. We've received a message from the Dvorni High Command. Darnell turned toward the communication station. On screen, the face of Thrax, the Dvorni commander, appeared on the holographic display. His reptilian eyes glowed with an unsettling intensity. Admiral Darnell, Thrax's voice rumbled, his tone calculating, almost amused. It seems your galactic counterparts have made their choice. They believe that Earth's rise is an affront to the established order, a challenge to the natural balance of power. We've agreed to provide our full support in your defense. For now. For now? Darnell repeated, her voice calm but edged with suspicion. What does that mean, Thrax? Thrax's lips twisted into something resembling a grin. We've aligned ourselves with you out of pragmatism, Admiral. But we do not forget who we are. If this battle goes in your favor, we will help you secure a new place in the galaxy. But if things turn against you, our alliance may come with terms that you may not like. Darnell's gaze was unwavering. We don't need your help, Thrax. We'll win this battle on our own terms, and we'll ensure that no one tries to manipulate humanity again. Your terms will not matter. The transmission cut abruptly, leaving only the cold, steady hum of the Hercules engines. Darnell's thoughts churned. While the Dvorni's involvement could be valuable, she could not trust them. They had their own agenda, and if humanity won this battle, they would likely demand something in return, something the humans couldn't afford to give. Get our fleet into position, she ordered. This is it. We either win here, or we lose everything. Chapter 12, The First Salvo. The battle began with a bang. The alien fleets, coordinated and vast, launched their first wave in an attempt to overwhelm Earth's defenses. Swarms of enemy ships, from the sleek, glistening vessels of the Actions to the hulking, heavily armed dreadnoughts of the Koth, descended on Earth's orbit. The sky above Earth darkened as the shields of the Hercules and other human ships shimmered into view, deflecting the first wave of deadly energy blasts. Shields holding steady, said Chief Engineer Kelsey Yoon, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. We've prepared for this. The energy dampeners are kicking in. They'll need to do more than that to break through. Darnell nodded but kept her focus fixed on the enemy fleet. They'll keep trying until they break us. Let's make sure that doesn't happen. It's time to show them who we are. A command was given, and the first volley of human retaliatory fire shot out, streaking through the vacuum and hitting several enemy ships with pinpoint precision. One Koth dreadnought exploded in a flash of flame, sending debris scattering in all directions. The Action's sleek ships darted around, trying to evade, but the human fleet was ready for them. The Hercules unleashed its own heavy weaponry, piercing through enemy lines like a blade cutting through flesh. This is just the beginning, Graves muttered, his hands moving swiftly over the tactical console. We've got their attention now. Let's not give them a chance to regroup. The enemy ships pushed forward, their desperation growing. They were accustomed to overwhelming their targets, to smothering their foes with sheer force. But humanity was different. They adapted on the fly, using guerrilla tactics, outmaneuvering the enemy with speed and ferocity. For every ship that fell, another took its place. Every blow from the enemy was met with a counterstrike. Human ingenuity, born from 1,000 years of survival on a harsh, unforgiving world, became their greatest weapon. Chapter 13, The Tide Turns. Hours passed, and the battle raged on. Humanity's fleet had lost ships, and Earth's atmosphere had been shaken by the near-constant explosions of orbital engagements. Yet the tide was shifting. The alien forces were being pushed back, their coordinated attacks splintering into chaotic individual efforts as they realized that Earth's resolve was unlike any enemy they had faced. Admiral, Commander Graves called out. The Dvorni are making their move. They're engaging the actions from behind. It looks like they've been waiting for the right moment. Darnell watched the unfolding scene on the tactical display. The Dvorni had kept their ships hidden, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. Now, their fleet moved swiftly, cutting down Axtian ships from behind and forcing the remaining enemies into disarray. "They've decided to join us," Darnell said, her voice a mix of disbelief and strategic calculation. "But don't trust them. If they think they can dictate terms, we'll remind them why they don't get to make the rules anymore." Despite their tactical advantage, the battle was far from over. The Council remnants were not the only force in the galaxy that would feel threatened by Earth's growing power. The fact that Earth was now being joined by the Dvorni didn't make it any less dangerous. It meant that their struggle was about to evolve into something more perilous, a fight not just for Earth's survival, but for control of the entire galaxy. Darnell's communicator buzzed, and a message flashed on her screen. "Message from the Galactic Senate: humanity's victory will not be recognized unless you meet the demands of the Galactic Unity Accord. Disband your fleets and return all conquered territory to the respective owners or face continued aggression from the remaining galactic factions." Darnell's eyes narrowed, her hands clenched into fists. "So they think we'll just roll over and play nice after all this?" "No chance," Graves said grimly. "They're not backing down." Darnell stood tall, her voice unwavering. "Neither are we. The galaxy will learn Earth will fight, and Earth will win. And they'll have to reckon with the cost of that." Chapter 14: The Price of Victory. By the time the sun rose over Earth's atmosphere once more, the battle had turned decisively in humanity's favor. The remnants of the enemy fleets were scattered, broken, and disbanded. The Dvorni, while still harboring their own ambitions, had proved valuable in forcing the Council remnants into retreat. Yet the victory felt hollow. The cost had been high. Ships had been lost, lives had been taken, and Earth's position in the galaxy had never been more precarious. Even in victory, humanity's enemies were still at large, still scheming, and still unwilling to accept Earth's place among the stars. As the damage reports came in and the fleet began its retreat to the safety of Earth's orbit, Admiral Darnell looked out at the view of Earth, a world scarred by war, but still standing strong. She knew this was just one chapter in the galaxy's history. The battle for Earth's future had been won, but the war for respect, for a seat at the table of galactic power, was only just beginning. Chapter 15: The Shadows of War. The galaxy, once an untamed and unpredictable expanse, was now shifting under the weight of humanity's victory. Earth had proven itself more than a survivor, it had become a force to be reckoned with. However, the price of this victory was something humanity had yet to fully grasp. The threat still loomed large, and not all of Earth's new allies were trustworthy. Admiral Darnell stood in the war room, watching the holographic map of the galaxy shift and rotate before her. Fleet reports had been coming in steadily since the battle. Earth had repelled the invaders, and for the moment, peace seemed to hang in the air like a fragile truce. But Darnell knew better than anyone that peace was rarely long-lived in the wake of a major conflict. "Admiral," Commander Graves' voice broke her thoughts. "The diplomatic channels are buzzing. The Council remnants are attempting to regroup, and the NAC warlords are making their move in the Orion cluster. They're sensing weakness, Darnell. They'll try to take advantage." "I know," Darnell replied, her voice hard. "And it's not just them. The Dvorni are watching, waiting. Their support was tactical. Now they want something in return. Something we can't give." Graves didn't need to ask what Darnell meant. The Dvorni, with their brutal militaristic approach, had aided humanity, but only to further their own goals. They were not allies in the true sense of the word, they were opportunists, testing the waters to see how far they could push. The galaxy's delicate balance was crumbling, and humanity had just stepped into the center of the storm. "Contact the Dvorni," Darnell ordered. "I want a meeting with their commander. I'll settle this now before it becomes a bigger issue." Chapter 16: The Dvorni Ultimatum. Hours later, a massive holographic display flickered to life, and Thrax's imposing form filled the screen. His reptilian eyes were filled with cold calculation, his voice deep and resonant. "Admiral Darnell," he rumbled, his tone betraying no warmth. "You have shown your strength. You have proven your resolve. But now, the question remains, what is it you will offer in return for our support?" Darnell met his gaze, her face unyielding. "We didn't ask for your support, Thrax. You chose to get involved, and now you want something in return. Let's make one thing clear, Earth does not negotiate under threat. We will not be coerced." Thrax leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Do not mistake my words for threats, human. We are not here to destroy you. But we are also not here to be your subordinates. You are new to the galaxy. You have yet to understand how things work. Power is not given, it is taken." "Then let me make it clear," Darnell said, her voice sharp as a blade. "You may have helped us in battle, but that does not mean we owe you anything. We won this fight. If you think you can dictate terms, you'll be mistaken." The Dvorni commander's smile was a cold, jagged thing. "We shall see. I will give you time to reconsider, Admiral. But know this: your future in the galaxy is uncertain. Many will see you as a threat. Do not think the Dvorni are the only ones watching." With that, the transmission cut off, leaving a tense silence in its wake. "Thrax is playing a dangerous game," Graves said, his voice low. "He's trying to get us to bend. But if we give him an inch—" "We don't give him an inch," Darnell interrupted. "We show him we stand firm. If we give in now, we'll be nothing but pawns in their game." But even as she spoke, doubt crept into her mind. Thrax's words rang true. Earth's place in the galaxy wasn't secure. There were too many powerful factions out there, each one trying to carve out their own future in the wake of the Galactic Council's collapse. And some of those factions were preparing to make their move. Chapter 17, A Dark Alliance. As the days passed, Darnell's fears began to take shape. Reports filtered in from every corner of the galaxy, and the signs were clear. The Council remnants had begun to unite under the banner of the Knack warlords. A ruthless species known for their penchant for subjugation, the Knack were far more organized than Darnell had anticipated. Humanity's victory had not been enough to deter them. If anything, it had fueled their desire to expand into Earth's territory, seeing the destruction of the Council as an opportunity to fill the power vacuum. "The Knack are already marching towards the Orion cluster," Commander Graves said, his voice grim. "They've mobilized an entire armada. And if they don't get a response from us soon, they'll consider Earth a target." Darnell ran a hand over her face, her mind whirling with the implications. The Knack were no fools. They knew humanity's strength was growing, but they also understood that Earth was still vulnerable. They would strike while humanity was still figuring out how to hold its ground. "We can't afford to ignore them," Darnell said, her voice sharp. "If we don't act, we'll lose control of the situation. Assemble the fleet. We're going to the Orion cluster." Chapter 18, The Confrontation. The journey to the Orion cluster was a tense one. The human fleet, now battle-tested but still wary, moved under full alert. Darnell stood at the helm of the Hercules, staring out at the stars. The weight of the galaxy's expectations was on her shoulders. If Earth faltered now, it would not just be a blow to humanity, it would be a blow to all of civilization. As the fleet neared the Orion cluster, the first signs of the Knack warlord fleet appeared on their sensors, dozens of massive, menacing warships moving with brutal efficiency. "Admiral, we're being hailed," Lieutenant Mikhail said, his fingers flying over the communication console. "Put it through," Darnell replied, her voice steady. The face of a Knack commander appeared on the screen, his features harsh and angular, his eyes cold as ice. "Admiral Darnell," the commander said in a deep, guttural voice. "I see you've arrived to try and prevent what's inevitable. But you should understand this Earth's place in this galaxy is temporary. The Knack will rise, and you will submit." "Not today," Darnell said, her tone unwavering. You may think you can intimidate us with your fleet, but you've underestimated Earth. We will not submit. We will fight. The NAC commander's lips curled into a sneer. Very well. If it's war you want, Admiral, then war you shall have. The transmission cut off, and the human fleet prepared for battle. Chapter 19, A New Kind of War. The battle in the Orion cluster was unlike any Earth had fought before. The NAC warships were brutal, their weapons devastating, but humanity's ships fought with a ferocity that the NAC had not anticipated. The Hercules and its fleet moved with deadly precision, responding to every attack with calculated countermeasures. But the NAC were relentless. Their tactics were brutal, pushing humanity to the limits of endurance. Earth's fleet was fighting not just to defend their territory, but to show the galaxy that humanity would not bend. Not to the Dvorni. Not to the NAC. And certainly not to anyone who thought Earth was weak. We're holding steady, Graves called out from the tactical station. But we need reinforcements. We can't keep this up forever. Darnell's mind raced. She knew they couldn't win this battle alone. It was time to make a move, a gamble that could either turn the tide in their favor or doom humanity to extinction. We call in the Dvorni, she said, her voice tight with resolve. Chapter 20, The Final Gamble. Darnell contacted Thrax. The Dvorni fleet, though opportunistic, was also powerful. If they came to humanity's aid, the NAC would have no choice but to retreat. But the price of that alliance would be steep. Thrax, we need your help, Darnell said, her voice steady. The NAC are too strong. We can't hold them off alone. If you want to see Earth survive, you will need to help us now. There was a long pause before Thrax's voice came through. You are in a precarious position, Admiral. But I'll make you this offer: join the Dvorni Collective, and I will send my fleets to your aid. Refuse, and you face annihilation. Darnell's hand tightened on the arm of her chair. The Dvorni were making their terms clear. But she had no choice. Fine, she said. We'll join. But don't think for a second that we'll be your puppets. You get one chance to help us. After that, Earth will stand on its own. The Dvorni responded with the chilling words, agreed. With the weight of that decision hanging over her, Darnell turned back to her fleet, knowing this gamble could change everything. Either humanity would survive and thrive, or they would face the darkest chapter of their history. Chapter 21, The Tide of War. The Dvorni fleet arrived in the Orion cluster just as the battle reached its most brutal point. Humanity's ships were strained, shields flickering, weapons running low on power, but they fought with a tenacity that made even the NAC pause. Earth had proven itself, and now it was a matter of survival, of proving that they could hold their ground. When the first wave of Dvorni ships entered the fray, it was like the galaxy itself had shifted. The NAC, unprepared for the sudden ferocity of their new opponents, faltered. Dvorni warships, with their enormous size and overwhelming firepower, tore through the NAC lines, forcing their vessels into retreat. Admiral Darnell stood at the helm of the Hercules, watching the chaos unfold. She had made a hard choice. The Dvorni were now part of the fight, but she knew the price would be steep. The Dvorni Collective was not known for loyalty, their alliances were transactions. But for now, they were necessary. Admiral, the NAC are retreating, Commander Graves reported, his voice tinged with disbelief. They're pulling back to the outskirts of the cluster. We've done it. We've won. Darnell didn't feel the rush of triumph she expected. The price of victory was heavy, and she knew it wasn't over yet. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's power, but the Dvorni had not done this out of generosity. They had done it to gain leverage, and soon that debt would come due. We won this battle, she said, her tone firm but resigned. But the war for Earth's place in the galaxy has only just begun. Chapter 22, The Cost of Power. In the days following the battle, the remnants of the NAC fleet limped away, and the stars of the Orion cluster grew quiet once more. Humanity's ships returned to Earth, battered but victorious. The Dvorni, however, had made their move. They weren't here simply as allies, they had come to stake their claim in humanity's future. Admiral Darnell called an emergency session with the senior leadership aboard the Hercules. The room was filled with silence, every officer tense as they awaited her orders. The victory had been hard-won, but now there was something more pressing. How would humanity navigate the coming days? "Admiral, we've heard from the Dvorny," Commander Graves said, his voice clipped. "They want to formalize our alliance. They're already talking about integrating Earth into the collective, giving us their protection, but at a cost. They want our military technology, our resources, and more." Darnell felt a chill run through her. She had known this moment would come. The Dvorny would take advantage of their new position, pressing Earth for more than it could afford. "They're playing us," Darnell said, her eyes narrowing. "But we have no choice but to play along for now. We can't afford to be cut off from their resources, not when there are still factions like the NAC out there, waiting for a chance to strike." Graves looked at her with understanding but also concern. "Are you suggesting we keep our distance, delay them? We don't want to give them an inch more than necessary, but cutting them off could provoke them into attacking." "We'll give them what they want, but we won't let them control us," Darnell said, her voice hard. "We have to show them that we're not subjugating ourselves to anyone. Earth will stand on its own terms." Chapter 23, The Gamble. Days passed, and tensions in the galaxy remained high. Earth, under Darnell's leadership, played the delicate dance of diplomacy with the Dvorny, conceding to some of their demands while making it clear that humanity would not bend to their will. But as the Dvorny pressed for more, Earth's patience began to fray. Diplomatic negotiations were only a temporary solution to the larger issue. The galaxy's view of Earth was still too uncertain. The Council remnants, the NAC, and other factions still saw humanity as a threat to their dominance. At the same time, Earth had gained a reputation. The Federation was watching, as was the trade union, and whispers of human might were spreading like wildfire. Earth was no longer a mere backwater planet, it was a new contender in the galactic arena. "Admiral," Kyra Singh, the communications officer, said, breaking Darnell's thoughts. "We've just intercepted a transmission from the Galactic Senate. They're offering a peace treaty in official recognition of Earth's place in the galaxy, but they want us to disband our military and submit to their oversight." Darnell's hand clenched on the console. "They want us to roll over and join their little empire. That's not going to happen." "Agreed, Admiral," Graves chimed in. "But this peace treaty might be their way of containing U.S. They're trying to buy time, to placate us before they move in for the real kill." Darnell turned away from the screen, pacing. "We can't trust them. Not now. We've earned our place in the galaxy, and we'll keep it on our terms. But we need more leverage." Kyra's voice was filled with cautious optimism. "Admiral, we've received word from the Federation they're interested in a formal alliance with us. They want to meet and discuss terms of mutual cooperation." Darnell froze. The Federation humans had long thought of the Federation as a distant power, too far removed from Earth's concerns to matter. But now, it seemed they had turned their eyes toward Earth as a potential ally. "Send them a message," Darnell ordered. "Tell them we're ready to talk. Let's see what they have to offer." Chapter 24, The Last Decision. Days turned into weeks as Earth's diplomatic efforts with the Federation intensified. Meanwhile, the Dvorny continued their pressure, making subtle demands for military access and political control, pushing the boundaries of Earth's patience. In the end, Admiral Darnell knew the truth: Earth could not afford to be isolated, not anymore. The Federation, with its network of trade and military alliances, represented the best chance for Earth's survival. But it was not a simple choice. Aligning with the Federation would mean bending the knee to their authority, becoming just another member in a galaxy full of power struggles. As the Federation's emissary arrived on Earth's capital, Darnell stood before the Great Council chamber, the weight of history heavy on her shoulders. "You've proven that humanity is not to be underestimated," the Federation representative said, his voice calm, but there was a glint of pride in his eyes. "The galaxy is watching, Admiral. What we offer is protection, resources, and a place at the table. In exchange, you'll join our Federation under our terms, of course. Darnell looked out at the Council. Earth had proven its strength, but the road ahead was unclear. The Federation's offer was tempting, but it came at the cost of sovereignty. Earth could never again be simply a planet in the shadows. We will not bow to anyone, Darnell said, her voice resolute. But we will accept your offer for now. We'll work with you, but on our terms. Earth will stand on its own, no matter the galaxy's opinion. The emissary nodded, his expression unreadable. Very well, Admiral. You will have your place. But remember, this galaxy is a cold place, and power is always fleeting. As the emissary left, Darnell's thoughts turned to the future. Humanity had proven itself, but the true challenge had only just begun. The galaxy was vast, and there were many factions, both friend and foe, who would try to tear Earth down. But Earth had survived its greatest challenges, and now they would rise, stronger than ever, standing firm in the face of whatever came next. Chapter 25: A New Beginning. As the Federation's representatives left Earth, the planet stood on the cusp of a new era. Humanity was no longer a backwater planet, it was a force to be reckoned with. Earth had earned its place in the galaxy not through submission, but through unyielding strength and the will to fight for its survival. Admiral Darnell stood at the window of her office, watching the stars above. The journey had been long, the battles fierce, but Earth had emerged victorious. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson: humanity would not be silenced. And in that quiet, Darnell knew one thing for certain: this was only the beginning. The galaxy would never be the same.